So I'm going to record this meeting so that we can send it to Elsa afterwards. She can watch it, see what we talked about, and then I'll have her reply by email to send any of her planning suggestions our way. But in the meantime, let's kind of introduce ourselves. You can see me. I'm Josh. It's nice to meet you guys.
Hey, I'm Marcus. Nice to meet you guys.
Hi, I'm Dennis Lamb, and it's really nice to meet you guys.
I'm Angie. I'm just in the ear today.
Okay, cool.
Nice. Well,
Travis, right there.
nice. Great, Travis. And then my name is David. Yeah, and I'll be joining the team as well. It's good to meet you all. At least hear your voices.
Right on.
Thank you. Super stoked to have you guys all on board. Just so you understand, Marcus and I are full-time employees of Experticity. Travis Babcock is a full-time filmmaker, and on this role, he's helping produce and filling in as what's called AD, first AD, which is Assistant Director. There'll be a ton of help to us. Dennis is serving to kind of help as our expert host up in Jackson Hole. He lives up there. He's helping us plan a lot of the activities. Travis used to live up there and has done some guiding up there. And then we have David Grange, who is an outdoor enthusiast, a member on Experticity, and jack of all trades when it comes to the outdoors. So we're really excited to have you. Elsa is from Canada, and she also does a ton of outdoor stuff. She does backcountry rescue and dog sled, mushing, and a lot of stuff. So when we get Elsa's feedback, it'll be really fun. But I'm excited to have you guys. Adventure Box is a fun video. Everyone has seen the first one. We want to do a second one, and that's what this call is about, to help plan this. First off, everyone has confirmed their availability on the dates. Right now, it's looking to be the first week of April. We'll discuss a little bit the dates, what we do, but what I really want to do right now is just talk about some of the challenges to our plan, additional activities we might to implement, things like that. So we'll kind of go over the calendar that I emailed to you guys. We'll talk about it, but real quick, Experticity is planning on arriving on April 5th.
April 3rd?
April 3rd. Yep, sorry. April 3rd. April 3rd is the day we will arrive in Jackson, and the first thing we'll do is get a drone up in the air and get a bunch of footage as much as we can of Jackson, just to kind of establish look and feel of the place. We'll meet Dennis, say hi to him, and we'll kind of figure out logistics of moving around his place, getting to our different locations. He'll help us with that. And then at some point, we'd like David and Elsa to try to arrive by the end of that evening, if that works for you guys. David, since you're on the phone, do you think you'll be able to drive up the evening at the 3rd, Tuesday?
Yeah, that's no problem. I was originally planning on leaving after work, which would put me there about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. But then in your email, you mentioned possibly getting some shots. So if you needed me earlier, I can just leave work earlier. Otherwise, I'll plan to be there Tuesday night.
I think Tuesday night is fine. I don't think you need to take work off that day. We will get some shots of just environment and
Excellent.
Jackson itself, and then you can show up that night, and we will make sure you have a place to stay. We've discussed possibly a place with Dennis. He's got a spare room, or he's looking into a house next door to him. We can potentially stay. So we'll make sure
Nice.
you got a place to stay that night.
That works great. Well, thank you.
Cool. We'll see what Elsa says. I know she's planning on joining us that week. We'll see if she can specifically make that. If that's the case, I will get her a ticket, fly her in. We can pick her up at the airport. Okay, cool. Dennis, do you have anything that you'd like to say about that Tuesday, us arriving or anything like that?
No, I mean, I'm just excited. I'm really, we're good to go on my end as far as, my house is available. as I stated in the email, I think I got it in one of the emails, but are you still planning on bringing the RV up?
I'm not certain. It was suggested to me that an RV might have a hard time getting around. That was earlier in the winter. Maybe by that time an RV won't have as much of a hard time. But I think we were planning on just driving up my Journey and a couple other all-wheel drive vehicles and then just staying there. If we need an RV just to stay in, I wouldn't mind driving it and parking it somewhere. But
sorry, go ahead.
But I think we moved away from the RV unless we need it as a place to stay.
Okay. Well, in either case is fine. The roads will probably likely be dry enough. The RV will be fine to get around, and it'll likely be easy enough to get up my driveway as well. So there's parking available also. So.
Okay, cool. That's great. I'll make a decision on that the next week or so. Whatever it is, we'll make sure that everyone has a place to sleep. Okay, so that next morning, Wednesday, we will film the arrival. Although you guys will have officially arrived the night before, we will present our experts with their adventure box, which is whatever gear we're able to procure. Our salespeople here at Expertise are having conversations with those brands right now. So a lot of the gear you requested, specifically David and Elsa, is out in the hands of those salespeople trying to get that gear specific. If we do not get that gear, or if we get some of it but not all, what we will do is ask you guys what gear you already have and perhaps have you bring some of that. And if it's something you don't have but we really want to try and we need for our shots, we will rent or purchase that. So I will know in the next probably 2 weeks what it looks like we're going to be able to get. And after that,
awesome.
we'll be waiting on them to ship it. If they can get it to us on time, then that will be part of those adventure box. And we're going to keep it a surprise what you get.
Cool. That sounds great.
All right. Yeah, should be super fun. It will influence the planning of our activities a little bit. So I might say something like, hey, we got what we needed for fly fishing, but I'll keep the details that wrapped in that box till you open it up and see what you got. So, yeah, and we will film that somewhere, Dennis, I think on your property, certainly, where those we'll have those kits ready and they can take a look and see what it is and what they have. And then that same day, I think the idea is for us to hike, do a little hike up to a fun place to set in on the river. Now, this is where I'd like to talk about your experience, Travis, and your knowledge, Dennis, of the area. Travis and I went over the map, and we found 3 different potential sites where we can set in on the river. The first half of that day, though, I'd like to do a hike of some type. And so if that hike could either get us to one of those sites to set in or be close enough that we can do the hike and then shuttle over to it, I like that. But Travis, I'm sure Dennis will be familiar with these locations. Could you talk to us about each of those 3 locations we had talked about? The first one being if we get national park permits, we will set in the park, and if not, there's 2 other potential spots further down the river we can set in.
Yeah, did you want me to talk about that, Josh?
Yeah, why don't you mention those spots to Dennis and let's chat through that logistics real quick.
Okay, Dennis, so what we talked about, if he gets national park privileges or a permit, we would probably put in below the Jackson Lake Dam float, the scenic float, which takes you past Tetons and would give us lots of opportunities to tie this chute, to allow Marcus to tie the chute to the Tetons and to the area from an iconic standpoint. We'd probably float all the way to, well, we really don't need a super long float, so we could take out anywhere, but at least to the Snake River Bend that's kind of famous. Maybe that location also, there's a spot there like Dead Man's Bar, or, we could go all the way to Moose, but probably don't need to. It's too far. So.
Yeah, Dead Man's Bar is probably a pretty good takeout. And, yeah, because you're talking several hours afloat.
Correct. Yeah.
So-
But what we would do is there was some discussion between Josh and I, and this is where Marcus can chime in, but there was some discussion about instead of trying to leapfrog and get shots going down the river, I presented to him a potential idea, which would be to have them on their inflatable kayaks or whatever it is we're going to have. I don't know, whatever water device it is we're going to have them on. And then we would be on a separate production raft where I could maneuver the boat in any way upstream, downstream, around, and Marcus would be able to get whatever shots he wants, and we're going along with them. So we travel with them, and that way we're not having to stop the action at any point and redo things and make it more documentary. So
I like that.
that was the approach that we talked about. I
Unmute
have
yourself, Marcus.
If
a
that's
nice-
possible, that would be phenomenal. That would be the greatest thing ever.
Yep, that's what we want to do.
So I definitely.
I have a 14-foot raft with an oar rig on it that is perfect for that. And so I have all the gear. There's no need to rent anything there. I have, traveled that stretch of river many, many times. The only thing that is different this time of year is it will be low water because the runoff hasn't happened yet. So some of the channels and things will be a little interesting, but we can pull over at any point. We'd have radio contact as Josh drove back down the highway in front of the Tetons. And, if at any point we needed to pull out sooner, there's a couple spots that are pretty close to the highway there. We could do that if we had to. But
How much
the goal
time
would
do
be-
we have on the water?
say that again.
How much time would we have on the water?
You'd probably have 4 hours if we didn't stop. Don't you think, Dennis? 4 hours?
Yeah, I would say I think that's definitely an accurate. I mean, depending on how fast people want to paddle, but it doesn't sound like it's something that you want to be doing. It's not a marathon.
No, we would be getting certain shots, and when we're in front of the Tetons around that Snake River bend where, Ansel Adams took his stuff, we'd spend some time in that area, but then after that, we'd be like, we got it, and then we'd be rowing hard to get to Dead Man's Fork.
Yeah, I think that's like you say, it's quite a ways. So
Yeah.
We also had discussed, and maybe Travis can confirm that this is the case, but Travis's brother is a Swiftwater Rescue kayak operator, and he was talking about being in the water with us on his kayak just to run safety. So just out of shot, but just staying right there to run safety for us in case there are any problems with the raft or Elsa or David's kayaks. But of course, we know you guys are high adventure experts, but just part of liability, we want to make sure that there is someone for safety.
Sure.
Travis, can you confirm
And-
he's available?
Yeah, he is available, and he has set aside those dates, and he lives in Jackson. He's a native, but he and I have been running, big rapids for a very long time. We know this stretch of river. Beyond that, he is a kayak instructor and is Swiftwater Rescue certified. He also runs a kayak camp during the summer up there. So he's done this for me on, we shot a motion picture down in Moab this year, and he ran water rescue for us. So this is not something new to either of us. We work very well together. I would also have a D-drag system with me on the raft in case anybody had issues. The only thing, there's no rapids up there. The only thing that could potentially happen in that stretch of water is somebody gets pinned against a log or something, and we'll make sure that doesn't happen, but we also have equipment with us to free that boat up in that area should that be an issue. So we've done this many times and have thought through some contingencies. We will be there to be in and around our shots to make sure that if they tip over at any point, he can assist them in getting back in their kayak and making sure that we're safe.
Cool. David,
Awesome.
what were you going to say?
I was just, is this, it sounds like it's more of a scenic float, correct? Or are there parts, rapids and whitewater sections?
It is a scenic float, definitely. You will see eagles, you will see buffalo, you'll see elk. I mean, on this stretch, I've seen more wildlife than I've seen in Yellowstone sometimes. So this is a
Awesome.
very scenic stretch. The only dangers that exist are what we call strainers or sweepers, which are logs that in runoff times have sort of fallen in the water, and those can change from day to day, and we'll steer you clear of those because we'll have people scouting and kind of telling you where those are at. And it should be this time of year where it's not moving very fast. We should be able to steer you clear of those. But those are the only real hazards that exist in the water at this time of year.
Awesome. No, that sounds great. Definitely sounds right up our alley.
It's
David,
very
how much
scenic.
experience do you have in a kayak?
In a kayak, so I've grown up actually inflatable kayak rafting down rivers on the Salmon River, and then I've been sea kayaking since I've been about 12. Growing up in Alaska there, so I'm definitely comfortable in an inflatable kayak. I think the highest class I've done are a class either 3+ or 4.
What did you,
I've swam
which stretch of the Salmon, the main or the Middle Fork?
the main there, and then
There's a nice
the pay.
3 or 4 in there. Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's some nice sections in there. I've swam through some class 3s and 4s on the Payette and the Salmon. So I at least, but I haven't done any swiftwater rescue courses or anything. So that's great to know. We've got definite safety backup and everything. So I have no worries there. And I was just curious if I should bring my or just to what I should mentally gear up for, looking for buffalo or, scoping out some spitting white water kind of thing.
I think, Josh, feel free to jump in. From a safety standpoint, you do not need to bring anything. We will make sure you are out. Make sure you're outfitted with a helmet and a life jacket. We will do a safety briefing. We will have throw ropes, both myself on our gear raft.
Awesome.
As well as the safety trailer, my brother, the Swiftwater Rescue certified safety guy, he will have a throw rope with him, and he can buzz in at any point and kind of help you get situated should you fall out. On this stretch of river, it really should just be paying attention to things downstream, really enjoying the beauty. That's it.
Awesome. Well, that sounds great. Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
We want this to be a fun and exciting adventure for David and Elsa, this portion of it. So, and I know that you guys have spent a little bit of time in Cedar Rapids. If possible, it would be fun to get some, even if it's just for the benefit of the camera, to hit some places where we see some fun water spray. We see a little bit of shifting. I don't think that means that we need to recklessly endanger anyone, but if there is a section where there are even some very short rapids or something playful, yeah, I would like to try to get shots of that. And Travis, I think when we discussed it, you mentioned there may be a section where, depending on the water level, we might get a little bit of excitement right there. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So let's say you do get national park permits, then our plan A would be to get the scenic stuff, right? And then if we wanted to get a little bit of whitewater, this time of year it's not super high, but we could get you a little involved if we put you in at like Hoback and let you float through King, which is right above Dennis's property. King is a very small rapid this time of year, class 2, if that. But it would, from the level of the camera, if we were stationed correctly, it could definitely look like you guys had a couple of nice waves and, a hit or two in. But it's not dangerous by any means. It's not like we went and did Lower Canyon and took you through Big Kahuna during June. So it would be fun, but you definitely wouldn't be in any danger. It would just be a nice little roller coaster ride for 3 or 4 rapids.
Nice.
Cool. David, would that be something you'd like to try?
Oh, totally. I am. If it's a tame section of river, I'm normally looking for any boulder I can play around and maneuver and just have fun with it for sure. Okay. My question was, let's see, Dennis or Travis, should I bring a wetsuit, for something like that? For this section, what do you think on that? In terms of clothing.
In an inflatable kayak this time of year, your butt will be getting wet, so you have you have some choices. Wetsuit, definitely, I would say yes to, because it would at least keep you that much warmer. I would even say we could go a step further, and I'll talk to Josh about this and rent you guys a dry suit or something, because then you can, you're really in the water, but your skin is not getting wet. You're really dry from the ankles down. So we'll talk about gear a little bit more and decide what's best. There's a number of options we have there.
Elsa wanted us to ask for some, so I actually did send a request to some of our brands to see if we can get some that she wanted to test. I think they were dry suits. So Elsa, after you listen to this video, chime in on that. But also chime in on your interest and willingness to get into something a little more technical in the rapids. So let us know about that. Cool.
Okay.
Okay,
Great.
we've got a couple of contingency plans. If we can't get national park permits, we can set it at a couple of different points. And one way or the other, we're going to end up at the Snake River Sporting Club, which is Dennis's family homestead for 100 years. And we've got permission to set out there. What we will do is we will either ride the stretch of river that actually sets out there, or we'll have our adventure, and then we'll set in 500 yards up the river, film you guys getting down and getting out of that spot. And that will be our camping spot overnight. And that's where we'll have a chance to test out some of the camping gear that we're getting, tents and sleeping bags and perhaps cooking stoves and things like that. So that will be a fun chance to do that portion of the adventure while we still have a little bit of daylight, and then we'll shoot a little bit by a campfire if we can get it. And do, so that's that Wednesday night where we'll do some of the camping stuff. Again, we'll go over some camping gear the next morning. Either Wednesday night or Thursday morning, we'll probably sit down and have a quick conversation with Dennis on that property about what his family history has been there, what he likes about the space. He will probably kind of continue his role as a host, kind of hosting you guys in his backyard and what that's been like. So I think, Dennis, what we might have you do, if you're comfortable doing this on camera, is asking them how their float down the river was, what they think about Jackson Hole, what they thought about the beauty they saw, and then tell them a little bit about that property that they're on, and even maybe if you can come up with a cool anecdote or story or something that's happened there. I think that would be really cool.
I do have a couple of good stories. Yeah, so absolutely. I'm happy to do that. I'm excited to share it. You know, that not only the history of my family history, but the valley's such rich history, in Jackson. Travis knows a lot about it probably. And
Have any old footage, photos? That would be cool too.
Actually do. In fact, I'm looking in my office. My great grandfather was Harry Clissold. He was the mayor here for like 33 years. Now he's the other side of the family that homesteaded here as well. But I've got some presidential signatures from him, and I've got some old homestead photographs of my great grandfather and in front of the cabin that will actually be camping right near in my as I envision it, and Josh will obviously you guys will have to say on this, but as I envision it, there's a good spot that's very near the cabin that they've kind of rebuilt. It's not technically historically correct, but it's pretty close, and it looks the part. So it's the aesthetics are good.
Cool. Yeah,
Hey, Dennis,
I fully
Dennis, I have
anticipate. Go ahead, Travis.
I was just going to ask while we're on that point, just so I understand, your family's property is near or on the same side of the river as where the Astoria Hot Springs used to be. Is that correct?
That is correct. So if you go, are you familiar with the sporting club? And
Yes, I am. The bridge, the Astoria Bridge there and everything, and yes, and the property across from it.
right. So, and as I think about it, as Josh talks about it, there's that put in just above, just northwest of or northeast of the bridge there on the Snake. You could put in there, go under the bridge, and then go down. So I think it's the third hole of the golf course, but it's basically the turn, which is usually, I guess, 9. But anyway, it's the furthest south hole on the golf course. And we had the 160 acres there. There's a little spring there it's really good water drinking. I mean, if hopefully if it's melting. Of course, we could be using snow stakes too, so we don't know that time of year. Either way, it'll be fun.
I think that's actually part of the fun of this versus a winter is we could have some drastic swings in temperature, some big changes in what the weather's like throughout the day. That'll provide interesting challenges for you guys as you're camping and hiking and kayaking. So I actually am looking forward to that. I think as much as we would have loved to get a winter shoot done. I think it's going to be just as cool here in the spring. Dennis, we do anticipate you participating in the camping there, cooking with them, having dinner, staying overnight there. We'll have tents and stuff. So we anticipate that if you're comfortable with that. If you just like to pop in that night, drive home, come back the next morning, totally fine. But you're welcome to camp with us overnight there if you want.
Yeah, no, I'm all in. I'd love to do that and be part of that. That experience. It's fun. I love winter camping, and I think that we'll actually have. There's a high likelihood that it will be snow there still. There's a possibility. But either way, like you say, it's going to be, it'll be chilly at night. And I did talk with Jesse yesterday, and he seemed to think that, a fire, or the flickering of the fire on the faces at night type, talking about the day, footage would be fine.
Yeah, we weren't 100% certain we'd be able to build a campfire on that property at this point. Dennis is working on getting us to do that. If not, I wonder if we could even do something like a little firebox or a open grill or something to at least have some warmth there, something like that. But
I actually have a fire pit that I built years ago that we could bring down if we need to. So
okay, cool. Well, that's kind of how we planned that Wednesday going. Is hike in the morning, find a place to set in, do the river, and then get out and hop and participate in the camping and cooking. We'll wake up the next morning, do a quick interview. We'll get up, get some footage of the sunrise and things like that, get you guys stirring and getting up and at them. And then I think what we'll do is we'll find a place just on the other part of that river or somewhere close to do some fly fishing.
Awesome.
That should be super fun.
Now, do we have to do any catching? Because I'm a much better fisher than I am a catcherman.
Yes, you have to catch it because that's what you're having for lunch.
Or we starve.
That's right, or no food. I'd like to. Ideally, I'd love to get some fish that you guys can grill them up. If we can, especially if we can get one of our brands to contribute a grill for us to try out, that'd be a fun chance.
Awesome.
Yeah, I saw that Traeger. That's some nice stuff.
I
actually bought that Go Light stuff. I bought that grill that they've got, and actually have that here. So.
Oh, cool! Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to use that too. So.
Okay, thank you. It's good to know.
Lots of opportunities.
Yeah, so that's what let's do. Let's start the day with fly fishing. We'll get lots of footage of that. That should be really interesting and fun. I know that's what Elsa was asking. Learn about. David, I know you have a ton of experience with fly fishing. Travis actually filmed and recorded a course, a series of videos. It was a course on fly fishing, so we'll have some really good experts on how that works.
Yeah.
Everyone should be able to do some learning and have some fun fly fishing.
Yeah, Dennis,
awesome.
Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong. There won't be any hatches this time of year, so we're strictly wet fly fishing, probably nymphing from the shore. Is that what we're talking?
Yeah, I would think so. And as you know, I mean, it depends on the runoff and then of course how muddy the waters are. But yeah, I would think it would be wet and probably very few hatches going off at about that time. But
great.
Yeah. Right.
So what does that mean in terms of our
fly's
likelihood of being able to catch a fish? You guys think?
Guys, it really depends on the probably the clarity of the water and how crazy the runoff is around that time. If it's been snowing or raining around that time, the fish will not be very active. So there's a lot of variables there. But Dennis, what do you think? Probably not a very good likelihood.
Yeah, I think fishing that time of year is the fish are pretty slow, still kind of lumbering around, I think. And I'm not an expert fisherman, but
what can we do? Find a lake?
Well, yeah, there are other opportunities probably for anything above 9,000 feet is going to still be frozen. So any high mountain lakes, and I'm thinking of, there's some possibilities of going up even Granite Creek, like to the hot springs there that we were talking about, Josh. Granite Creek will probably be flowing pretty decent and probably pretty clear. Travis, you probably have some experience with that. There's actually even some opportunities in Granite and the Hoback River for fishing. That might be yes. I think there's just lots of opportunities, Josh. I think, and there's especially
the tough part, Josh, is that we have this job of getting the shots right, and so it's how long do you want to sit around until they catch a fish, and some of that is the way the fishing's going, how much food there is floating through the water, how active the fish are, and the other part is just how long do we want to sit there and let them, figure out a spot, figure out what the fish are biting on. And so the reason I said it's not a likely chance that you'll catch anything is I just know that we won't be able to sit there for half a day. A real fisherman who knows what they're doing might still work for 2 hours and catch something that day, but we don't have that time luxury that day.
Yeah.
I do know of
one thing, just
pretty good holes there, near there.
What would you say, David?
I was just going to throw it out there. Josh has been, I do have a lot of experience with dry fly fishing. So I just wanted a disclaimer there that I definitely know what I'm doing when it's dry fly fishing, but I have not done very much subsurface fishing. So as you said, there's not a hatch, then that puts me out of my ideal fishing. But certainly, I absolutely want to fly fish, but I'll then be relying on Travis and Dennis and your, subsurface fly fishing to hopefully hook up with something.
Yeah, it's a little bit in the rigging, and then there's a little bit of casting difference, but you're really just watching a strike indicator versus watching the fly itself.
The fly.
Even if we go to a lake, he's right. Even if we tried Jenny Lake or Lee Lake, you're frozen. Frozen.
Yeah, and David's. I liked his disclaimer, and I guess I'll put mine out there as well. Like I said, I'm better fisherman than I am about catching. So
I can look pretty dry fly fishing, but I'm just not sure about the catching part. But we'll certainly give it our best. It sounds like.
Well, Let's go out there. Let's learn how to do it. Let's get some beautiful shots of it, and maybe the mountains will be with us.
Well, and that's why I love fly fishing, because even if you don't catch anything, it still just feels awesome. Be out there in nature, casting away. The rhythm of fly fishing is really a beautiful rhythm, and so that's in my opinion what it's all about. And the catching is just a bonus.
Well,
and I think Josh.
Josh. Go ahead, Travis.
I was just going to say it's probably better for us to plan in the contingency that they don't catch anything, making the story go that way. And the biggest reason is, having filmed a lot of fly fishing, even if the fish are biting, the exact moment nailing that shot when the strike indicator goes,
yes,
the line, is very difficult. Knowing that from experience, I've usually had to have 2 cameras rolling, just a lot of footage in order to actually get the actual strike moment.
So part of that is a conversation over any type of adventure style shooting. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to try to step our game up a little bit in terms of equipment. We're going to rent cameras that are specifically designed to power on quickly, get that shot quickly. And I think that will help. Our Blackmagic Ursa Minis power on pretty slowly to get beautiful shots, but they're heavy, they're big cameras. I think we're going to go with some smaller mirrorless cameras, the Sony's have. And those should help us to power on pretty quickly and get that shot quickly if we need to. That said, if for whatever reason we don't catch a fish, we will plan to head over to the Burger Barn real quick, get some footage of us sitting around, having a good time, laughing about what we learned about fly fishing.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
There's definitely chances to get beauty footage, though, no matter what. And you can even say that line, Marcos, you can step in and see if this is what you want, but you can even say that line you just said, David, which is, you know what, we didn't catch anything, the weather wasn't cooperating today, but anytime I'm fly fishing out here, I just seem to get in rhythm with the environment, with nature. That
Yeah.
kind of thing.
But what I want to focus is there's this. It's kind of an overused line, but it's not about the destination; it's the journey, right? And so you don't have to catch a fish. You just have to enjoy yourself being outside, right?
Totally.
So I mean, and that's what makes passion, right? You continue to do it even
Right.
when you catch a fish. You do it because of
Absolutely.
all the other things.
Yeah, I've never had a bad day fishing.
Right.
I have fallen in a few times, but there's a good story behind that. But I'll save that maybe.
Save that for the camera.
Nice.
That
All right.
makes for a good video too. The falling in makes for a good video too.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a fun part of the day, and hopefully we do catch them. If not, we will definitely have a story to tell. So I'm not super worried about that.
And I
Well,
live
and if we've got a dry suit, Josh, then let's throw on some snorkel masks and hop in and at least look at the fish.
Okay, I'll see about getting an underwater camera.
I have my scuba equipment.
There you go. There's some good old river snorkeling,
Right.
It does bring up a good point though, David, and that is the water will be 48 degrees around this time of year. 48 degrees, fly fishing.
Jeez.
We need to be careful. That's pretty cold. So if we do fall in, we'll have a laugh, but then let's get you out because hypothermia will set in at about 45.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. We'll be on the alert.
Okay, cool. The last part of our adventure is the thing that to me right now is still up in the air a little bit. So I could use some input from you, David, about what you'd like to do, from you, Dennis, about what you know about the area. And so let's talk about that real quick. I would like to try to get up to Granite Hot Springs, but it looks like their season actually ends the weekend before. So there's a potential they will be closed. If that's the case, we won't actually be able to go up to Granite Hot Springs. Or if we do, there won't be anybody there. It will just be us kind of snooping around on Forest Service property. I'd rather do it with their permission and make sure that they're okay to go up there and shoot. But Dennis was mentioning that he was going to look into the possibility of us getting up there, even though it's a couple of days past their season. The other question was, is there going to be enough snow for us to use snowmobiles to get up there? If there is not, there's a possibility we can get Diamondback to give us some fat bikes. And if that happens,
Nice.
ride the fat bikes up. If Diamondback doesn't come through with the fat bikes, that's still something we could potentially rent and do it that way. But if not, then we need to look at some other option, natural hot springs on the river somewhere, or some activity other than going to the hot spring. So I'd kind of like to open that up to what Travis knows, what David would like to try, and what Dennis knows about how we can finish that part of the day off.
Yeah, the challenges with Granite Hot Springs are that you can always get access to there, but you're right. Their winter season ends April 3rd. So we just need to probably talk to somebody, and we've already put a call into them. We just haven't gotten a call back. But we're trying to figure out what they'll allow us to do during that time of year. Your guess is as good as ours. If it doesn't snow anymore and it gets warm up there, it will be a muddy mess. If it does, if there is still snow, then snowmobiles might work. If not, we can make anything look like anything. We just still have to get back in there. So we can make it look like we had a really great fat bike journey up there and, take the fat bikes as far as you want, but we still have to have a way to get into those springs. So that's just a real concern there because it's about a 10-mile journey on that dirt road.
And it's a dirt road that's likely to be muddy.
Correct. And there's a high likelihood. Well, it depends, I guess, again on the spring we have, but there's already been several rock slides that have closed off rivers down, like the Grays River right now down south. And I was talking with the forest engineer yesterday or the day before, and he said he's anticipating a lot of work on Forest Service roads, and that would be Granite Creek particularly, there's a couple of spots that could likely go, but generally, as Travis probably knows, that may be later in the spring than what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, their season closes on the 3rd, so if we can talk to somebody, we may be okay for a couple of days to be in there on the 5th. We have to talk to somebody, because if they started right away, which the government really never does that, but if they started construction right away, the road could be blocked. But the likelihood of that is not very great. It's really just probably talking to them, seeing what the snow conditions are like currently. Could we still have access? Would they let us? Do they recommend snowmobiles? Do they recommend anything? And then if we can't do Granite Hot Springs at that point, I think we're looking at fat bike or snowshoeing or something like that in a different location. We may or may not be able to pull off the hot spring ending to that story, but there would still be the potential of doing fat biking from another location and getting what we need there.
David,
Yeah.
what are some other things you'd be interested in trying?
Did you say what are some other things?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, I don't know how I'm less familiar with Jackson Hole, but if the bike paths are clear, I've heard of some really awesome bike paths and like cycling on the road before the roads are open. So there's, so you can bike on the roads, but you can't drive on them yet through the national park. And so I've heard stories of that I think would be, I mean, if it's possible, that's kind of one pipe dream of getting on a road bike and kind of cycling through the park, or just some really great scenic bike paths through the area. Fat biking, I think, would be awesome. I'd love to try and dive into that sport more and test out some of the Diamondback, fat bikes. Otherwise, really spring is just good spring corn skiing. If the roads are wet and the snow's settled in, then God, my mind just keeps going to skiing. But like you said, I don't know if there's a good spring, easy, convenience backcountry ski spot to hit, for a half day of spring skiing. Or, those are just some immediate ones.
Okay, cool. Dennis and Travis, do you guys have any feedback on that?
I mean, it's so many contingencies out there. I feel like if we're going to do backcountry, I do have some connections at the resort there. My brother's ski patrol in the winter there. But your snow conditions in late spring are the kind where they're going to really scrutinize heavily what's happening in the backcountry before allowing anyone up there, because they hate rescuing people. So I don't know. I can't answer on this call what our chances of that are. You're probably more likely to go for something like cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, fat biking than we are probably backcountry in late April, simply because the slide conditions get worse as the snowpack has less fresh snow.
I see. And that's great. That's good to hear the, insider scoop, from the local standpoint. And cross-country skiing would be awesome. I mean, that's something I've definitely done, but I'd love to try skate skiing. I've done a lot of classic cross-country skiing, but I have never done skate skiing. So that would be something that would be, of interest for sure.
Okay, cool. Elsa, I know you're going to listen to this later. Why don't you chime in too about another thing you might like to try if we can't get snowmobiles or fat bikes to work?
Here's a couple of options for you, Josh.
Okay.
Just while you're talking to Elsa about that, there is a fire tower that used to exist across the valley from the Tetons. It was above a campground over there, and it might provide an interesting lookout destination across the Tetons. It's on Forest Service land, but it is not in National Park land. So we could snowshoe or fat bike or cross-country ski to that fire tower and then let them, crawl up that thing and look out across to the Tetons. It gives a huge picturesque view of the valley. I'd have to check and see if that's still there, but in my recent memory, that is still a really awesome lookout directly across from the Tetons.
It is.
Just a short drive to the base. So Dennis, do you have any information on that, you think?
Yeah, it is still there. It might be a neat fat bike opportunity to go up that road. It's just an old logging road, as you know. There's that opportunity. There's, I don't know if you've been up Monument Ridge, just across up through up Cliff Creek. There's some opportunities up Cliff Creek. Snowmobiling, fat biking, fishing, different things there. And then, like David was saying, I believe that is about the time that they open the road to bikes only to Jenny Lake from the Phillips Lake parking lot. So
that would be if we got national park permits, then we could do that part to it.
Right.
Okay. I'm working on national park permits. We'll see what they say about that. Let's see what other ideas Elsa has, or anyone else. Please reply in that email thread. Talk a little bit more about that. Before I wrap up, I'm just really looking forward to it. I think that we're very close on solidifying our plans, but I feel confident that the team can pivot whatever we need to do. And part of the reasons I like to plan things so meticulously is so, as everyone knows, every adventure or film shoot or thing you do, things can go sideways, and that's not always a bad thing. The better we plan, the quicker we'll be able to adapt, and I'm confident that we will get the shots, the story, and the adventure we want if we both plan ahead and be prepared to pivot whatever circumstances come. So totally comfortable with that. Let's speak up in that email thread. I'm going to have Elsa talk about that. Before I wrap up, I want to turn a little bit of time over to Marcus if he has specific questions or ideas before you wrap up, and try to respect everyone's time here and just keep it 1 hour. Go ahead, Marcus.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. No, I don't think I have any other feedback to include. I think really the waiting game now is to see what brands participate in this, and so that kind of just will affect what sports, what adventures we do, right? I'm very happy about how knowledgeable everyone is about this location, the scenario. I think it's a really good cruise. I'm really looking forward to it. I really am. So I'm excited.
Okay, should be a ton of fun. We will let you know what we hear from our end on the gear we get. And of course, that will also in turn influence some of our activities a little bit. But thanks, everyone. Did anyone else have any questions or comments they want to bring up?
Josh, we didn't really cover this, but just one more thing, and that is if we do not get national park permits, we won't be obviously floating from the Jackson Lake Dam, Dennis. We would at that point probably try to float, depending on water level, we would either launch at the Wilson Bridge boat ramp. It's probably going to be a little shallow through there for a little bit, but at least we'd get a few shots in there, and then float through South Park and all the way down to your property. Worst case scenario, we launch at South Park and float down to your property. That's really only like a 2-hour float-ish.
Right.
But we'll assess that as Plan B and Plan C, but that allows us to still get some footage and wind up at your property there, kind of for an arrival moment, as well as get going through King. So those are kind of the contingency plans we never talked about, but that would be if we do not get national park.
Okay, good. Thank you for helping us think through that. David, you got any questions?
I don't. Yeah, I'll just be, geared up for kind of anything that heads our way and see what the weather holds and what the gear, what companies are able to throw some gear our way. But sounds awesome, Josh, and thanks again for putting this together. And I mean, it sounds like a great team too, so it's going to be stellar.
Tons of fun. Dennis, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I agree with David. It's going to be great. We do have lots of contingencies, even just from my house. We've got some, we can do some snowshoeing or skinning up behind my house. There's some good, probably some pretty decent footage opportunities. So, we've got huge eagles, just all sorts of game, some good opportunities here as well. So, and having said that, I'm just super excited and feel privileged to be part of this, and thank you guys for putting it all together. And I'm excited to have everybody here.
Thanks, guys. Really, really looking forward to it. Everyone, it's the right team in place. I feel really good about it. So thanks to each of you. Let's continue communicating on that email thread. I'll stop this recording and then send it to Elsa. Elsa, please feel free to chime in on any of the points we've made. Ask any questions you want to. This is definitely something we want to be awesome for everyone involved. So, all right, guys, let's keep the communication going on email, and we'll talk soon.
All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, team. See ya.
Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.